Welcome to the 14th episode of Supply Chain India. From January 1 this year, Britain has exited the European Union. Exchange of goods between the multitude of European nations and Boris Johnson's Britain is facing challenges. Wine lovers, among others, are feeling the pinch.
Do you know roughly 42% of Brits drink wine once a month, and three-fourths of this bubbly comes from Europe. For 50 years, there was no hassle in sipping this fruity syrup. Now there are challenges. One stock out or less choice, or $2 extra. Why? Blame it on Brexit. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson won a landslide victory in 2019 with the promise to get out of the European Union. So from January 1st this year, Britain is independent of the European Union. Therefore, all trade concessions have evaporated. No special tariff. Everything costs more, be it import or export. As far as wine is concerned, Brit aficionados of the European wine are running helter-skelter to lay their hands on good quality wine bottle for consumption at home or wine glass at classy bars. Worried over consumer resistance to price hike, retailers and bars are stocking limited brands. Now that Britain is out of the European Union, exports to England need certificate that the wine consignment is leaving outside the European Union. Plus, the wooden caskets have also to be certified about their anti-pest quality. Very few European distilleries fulfill this condition. Added to this is the freight forwarding challenge at both ends. Haulage also shot up from 30 pence per bottle before Brexit to 45 pence now. Good quality wine costs upwards of 12 British pound, have to pay more. However, the bottom rung is not impacted much. But who is talking about cheap so-called wine? Connoisseurs are sulking definitely. Classic case of supply chain disruption. Not pandemic induced at least. Johnson says such disruptions on account of Brexit are temporary. Did the move to exit the European Union right? Some Brits are pondering. Too late.
Anil Murthy ticked all criteria when UPS entered India 20 years ago to set up shop and became its first industrial engineer. Logistics is a science and art. Even the less cherished trucking can use a lot of industrial engineering prowess. Here he shares his knowledge.
What is network design? Is it a fancy word? What is it?
Network design is connecting people, material from one place to another place, called as origin and destination. It's actually those two people, two companies, two traders who want to trade their goods for money has to make his goods reach from a buyer to a seller. So, because of the complexity of modern world and the distances involved, the network design is a coined word in order to, it's a new modern word coined to connect these trades. It did not exist in the earlier world when the trade used to happen in villages. It happens between two people, neighbors, or within the village. As it grew, it went from one village to another village. Then from one city to another city, from one state to another state. The world itself is now called a global village, where anybody sitting in one corner of the globe places an order for goods, and that goods have to be delivered to him in another part of the world. So the connections are called network. This connection of how these goods are transferred from one place to another place, or from origin to destination, or from the seller to the buyer, is called network design.
Phrase network design, when was the first time you heard?
In college, when I was studying my industrial engineering, in my college textbooks, this word had had appeared, but in a different way. We had a complete subject on logistics, where logistics management. By that time itself, the economy had opened up in India, and we were already trading among within the country and outside also. So the network design word had already started appearing in logistics, in industrial engineering, because as industrial engineers we were supposed to optimize this network. So we were also taught this network design as a subject, as a topic of this subject called logistics.
Now, I want to understand the linkage between industrial engineering and like supply chain logistics. I mean, how did the like the concept of industrial engineering crept into logistics supply chain, and gradually like more and more globally renowned companies started recruiting industrial engineers as part of their team. Tell me that. Because you also worked with a couple of MNCs in India in the logistics segment, right?
Yes. This all started with American companies, where industrial engineering as a subject, it is called as time study or method study. Method study involves improving methodology of doing things, and time study is time taken before the method was identified and after the method was set up. So these both time studies show the productivity improvement before study and after study. The method is what is continuously improved to improve productivity. So since industrial engineers, the core subject or core concept of industrial engineering is time and motion study or method study to improve productivity, is why industrial engineering came into focus in supply chain or logistics.
Okay.
And for example, when I was working for FedEx, this network design as a part of FedEx, as a part of network design from India side, I used to give out the plan to my company operation team to connect the load. If there is a courier package that has to go from, say, Bombay to South Africa. Now, in FedEx and UPS, we used to take it by plane. So what is the network connection available in this world which will take a package from Bombay to South Africa, a certain, say, Cape Town is a town in South Africa, where if I have to take it till that place, by what connecting which flight from Bombay to so and so place, and then it will get transferred to another airline to go to South Africa, Cape Town. So, which was the easiest connection or which was the fastest connection is what I used to send out this monthly operating plan to the operation team. For example, here we used to connect it via Dubai. It means my flight that goes from Bombay to Dubai, that package will change over to a flight from Dubai to South Africa.
So what we're basically saying is, as a layman, it sounds like a route planning.
Correct, exactly. That is what, for them it was network planning. The airline network planning. Route planning is the package route that will take from airline to airline to airline till it reaches the last point.
So this concept, can you apply this concept, like give me a concrete example in the manufacturing segment, not on the movement of goods or item or parcel from point A to point B, but within a plant, manufacturing. Can this industrial engineering, the concept which you're talking about, design,
yes,
is it applicable there?
Yeah, obviously, it is applicable there because again it starts with US because where with the labor unions, there used to be an agreement on how much the workers are going to produce in a given day. Because in America, the payments are made on hourly basis, weekly basis, or things like that. So the output also from the workers are expected by the company. They used industrial engineering to set up a standard how much the worker has to produce. So the time and motion study or the time and method study was done by the industrial engineers, and he used to set out a process. Okay, if it goes from point A to point B, then point C, point D, if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, and if there are 5 workers involved, the total of 5 workers will produce this much. And individual workers, each person will produce say 100 items, which will all get finally assembled and form 500 assembled pieces, say by the end of the shift, or say by every hour, or say weekly. So this setting up of a target, setting up of a standard was done by the industrial engineers. That is how it became popular even in manufacturing. And this was done when I was working for this company called Hex Pharmaceuticals in Bombay. There was a manufacturing organization, it's a pharma company, and they used to measure these outputs of workers. And industrial engineering department used to set their targets here in India also. So though it was a German company, but the concept of setting standards started with Americans.
So, I mean, in the Indian logistics supply chain segment, the network design and the industrial engineering is gradually, gaining currency. More and more companies started using, right? How 4PL is different from 3PL?
The money component. The money component is what gets added to 4PL. The earlier 3PL was all people, materials. The money component was also came into play with 4PL. The transfer of money has to take place, no?
I don't understand.
When we are dealing with international trade,
yeah,
the money also has to get exchanged, na? When the goods, how do I trust my counterpart to pay me the money when she receives the goods?
So you are talking about bill of lading, letter of credit.
Correct. Those things came into picture, which forms 4PL. That is the difference between earlier 3PL and the 4PL.
So, which basically means the logistics service provider gets, begins to wield power on the money matters as well. It is just not, enabling, but actually getting involved in planning and execution. I mean, tell me, we are in 2020. Okay, so you have been in the industry for almost 3 decades. And, talk about the evolution, how, the way it, really evolved. Okay, the foreign companies, global companies definitely practice all this, operating, SOPs kind of a thing, systematic, planning and all those kind of a thing. What about the, homegrown Indian companies, which are also getting into the 3PL segment? Have they also gaining confidence and started, utilizing all this, concepts as well as practicing it?
Without, whether they employ industrial engineers or not, whether they understand 3PL or not, whether they understand 4PL or not, they are doing with whether formally or informally, they are doing it. For example, Dunzo, and you have heard the concept of Dunzo, where they give 2-wheelers out for hire to people who want to take it from one place to another place. Then there is another bike sharing app where you can take a small electric bike from one place to another place. Now, there is logistics involved in it. There is charging of the batteries involved in it. There is payment involved in it. Because of the evolution of digital payment is why it has become easier. How do you give your vehicle and yet take the payment from the people who hire the vehicles? So you have digital currency that has come into picture. Without digital currency, this could not have been done. Otherwise, the two-wheelers were available since last 3 decades or 4 decades or 5 decades. But nobody used to give it on hire. They used to either sell it or resell it. But nobody was giving two-wheelers on hire. If I go back 20, 30, 40 years, I remember the only thing we used to get on hire is in two-wheelers is a bicycle, where a local bicycle shop person who used to sell his vehicles, to sell his cycles, or who also used to repair his cycles, he used to give his vehicles, cycles on hire for 1 hour, 2 hours.
Yeah, I used it. I remember bicycle hire. I understand.
But nobody used to give, because you cannot take a cycle and run away somewhere so easily. And it was not very costly. But giving a motorcycle or a scooter to somebody costing about ₹1,00,000, it was a little, nobody used to trust that.
Yeah, risky venture.
So now with evolution of security, tracking system, the digital payment, so the businessmen have come forward to give two-wheelers on hire. So a lot of things have to be evolved to be able to apply these concepts in different areas. Now the future where, like in abroad, you can take four-wheelers on hire and go. That concept has still not reached India in a large scale. Nobody gives a four-wheeler so easily. I'm talking of easy. I'm talking of easy availability.
Yeah.
The four-wheeler, nobody gives you so much easily on hire, and you can take it for a week, go on a tour, and come back and give him. Those concepts have not yet evolved in India, but abroad it is very easily available. You show your documents, you take your vehicle which is tank filled, and while you return, you fill the tank full again and return it. The kilometer is subtracted and the payment has to be made. As long as there is no damage to the vehicle, you can take it anywhere you like.
Yeah, Zoom cars in India. I mean, I heard of.
They are still not widely available, not easily available. Now with the availability of two-wheelers, the four-wheeler also will become available soon to everybody.
How did you get into this line of business?
Stint with Hex Pharmaceuticals, there was an ad in the newspaper from a company called UPS, which entered into a joint venture with Jet Airways.
Which year was that? Which year?
Jet Air. Jet Air is the parent company of Jet Airways. In 2004. 2004, they formed a joint venture and set up office in Bombay, head office, where the advertisement said, we would like an industrial engineer, first sentence, with 5 years of experience, a distribution background preferably. These were the only 3 criteria. And I had all 3. I was an industrial engineer. I had completed 5.5 years in Hex Pharmaceuticals. When they had called for this interview, I was in the distribution department. 1 year.
You ticked all the boxes.
I ticked all the boxes, and there was just a few questions, and I was taken on board.
You joined as what?
As an industrial engineer, industrial engineering supervisor. And UPS worldwide, in every country, they had one industrial engineer.
Only one, is it?
Only one in the country.
Wow, you are a unique personality. What is the job profile at UPS was?
See, when I started under UPS industrial engineering, one is the standard operating procedures, the network in terms of vehicle movement within the city. So that planning was also part of industrial engineering. And under industrial engineering also comes facilities setup and management. So because it was new, as I told you, they had just entered into India. They had only, when I joined, they had only this Delhi office and the Bombay office. So in 4.5 years in UPS, most of my work was helping operations to improve, if I have to tell you in short, and set up their operations and set up their standard operating procedures. These were the main things that I did for them.
Joe Biden has entered the White House, and one of his first acts is to sign up for the Paris Accord again. His predecessor, Donald Trump, had exited, making many unhappy across the globe.
American President Joe Biden's one of his maiden steps, hours after taking charge of the world's biggest economy, was to sign in to gain re entry into the Paris Accord on global warming bandwagon. Because climate change is close to his heart, and he has former Vice President John Kerry as his Sherpa for this ambitious goal. His predecessor Donald Trump exited out of the Paris Accord. Biden has rectified that faux pas, much to everyone's delight. By November, when the world gathers at Glasgow for COP26, Biden would be a full fledged member of the 190 August group, perhaps leading from the front. Not to be forgotten is Biden's election eve promise to build 550,000 electric charging stations. Not immediately, but over the next 10 years. Ensuring the global warming does not breach the 1.5 threshold from the present 1.2 Celsius, there is a clamor to embrace electric. China, the United States, and the United Kingdom are rushing in to get electric infra ready to make this dream a grand success.
Now the global warming advocates are happy. Meanwhile, Shell brought a German company specializing in electric charging at the lamppost level to help the electric vehicle owners in Britain.
Anglo-Dutch oil giant Shell is serious about the climate change and is keen on electric. Recently, it acquired Ubitricity, a German company specializing in street-level electric charging, mostly using lamppost. The necessary approvals may take time to come through to sanctify this 100% acquisition, but the die has been cast. Ubitricity has 2,700 charging points in the United Kingdom. Shell has 1,000 superfast electric charging stations through its retail outlet already. More and more nations are targeting to banning production of internal combustion engine vehicles. Electric driven mode is one of the alternates to tackle climate change. Oil majors without exception have contributed to higher level of carbon emission for very long. Now is the payback time. Shell is not alone to explore and expand its electric reach. Total, Repsol, BP are already in this game to achieve zero emission levels. It is never too late for these giants to change their business model from polluting fossil fuel purveyors to the non-pollutant electric mode. If only they had taken Elon Musk seriously a decade ago, the climate change scenario might have been better and different today. Better late than never.
Well, that brings us to the end of this 14th episode of Supply Chain India. Hope you liked it. Do give your feedback. We will be back soon with fresh edition. Share it, subscribe. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy. Goodbye.